This is On the Porch, RVA, where every episode features observers discussing life. We agree and we disagree. So we invite you to take part as we discuss current events and no telling what else. Whether the conversation is bad drivers, politics, or even earthworms, everyone has an opinion and is welcome to express it. Life is an adventure to be shared and celebrated here on the porch.
Hey there, welcome. We are back. We are still talking about Star Wars, and we've had some rearrangement in people. I want to welcome a new face, and then that one over there that you heard last time.
I'm the old face.
You're seeing him.
Yeah, you put a voice to the face. It's kind of like the Charlie's Angels thing, where you don't see the guy, but you hear his voice.
He's still going to probably be indulging.
These are not the angels, so don't please get all confused. They're not the angels, so it's all right.
But this is.
See, I can make him Wilson. This is Wilson, the neighbor Wilson on A Home Improvement. Yeah.
If you did so and so with your children, none of them stop.
But this is basically episode 3, part 2, or something. And so
A New Hope Strikes Back. Return.
Let's go straight to the welcome for my friend Evie, who you've probably seen before. I can tell you she's a huge Star Wars fan, and I want to get you caught up with the rest of us because I had asked some questions before, just a few. You didn't. They're not essay, and there was no need to study.
Yoda, put the gimmer stick down. Put the gimmer stick down, Yoda. Put the gimmer stick on the floor.
She tried to cast a spell on me when we were doing the Harry Potter thing.
Oh yeah.
So I'm a little leery now.
Don't let me go full empire on you.
The first question was looking at George Lucas and what he did, what he accomplished, what he didn't do, what he didn't accomplish. If you were to prepare the biopic and the culmination of it, would you be presenting him or seeing him as a hero or a missed opportunity?
Well, me personally, I would see him as a hero. For me.
Mm-hmm.
It takes me back to and I'll tell you why he was a hero to me. When you grow up with a mother who's an English teacher, in summertime, you just think you just off from school? No. You have to pick books to read during summer vacation.
Did you go to Socialistic Book Club and get that one, that little small short book? Oh, okay, never mind.
So, Mom said you had 2 choices. You could pick something that was historically interesting, and then you could pick something fun. So I went to the library, and I picked something that was historically fun, interesting, so to speak.
Rocky and Bullwinkle. See, didn't work that time, did it? Ha! The force is with me.
And then I found the book that changed everything for me, Star Wars, and it was a paperback. I read that book in 2 days, and I kept reading that book. I read that book so much that it came apart.
Wow.
So it was a hit.
You abused a library book.
Was this the movie adaptation, the first paperback, or was what
I think
was
it was the very first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you read the book
Did you
before
know
the
that
movie?
was ghostwritten by
Before
Alan
seeing
Dean
the
Foster?
I think so.
Yeah, he
Right.
actually
It said
wrote the
by
synopsis,
George
yeah,
Lucas, but it was
Right.
Alan Dean Foster.
Right.
Yeah.
who in turn
So-
actually wrote the second one
Right.
that they were going to turn into a movie but didn't. Splinter
Which
in the Mind's
was,
Eye. Right.
yes. And speaking of that, Splinter in the Mind's Eye,
Oh, yeah.
I read that so much. And I remember several years later, I made a bet with someone. And they didn't believe me when I told them that Luke and Leia were twins. And I bet them $100.
But you had a head start on
I did
knowing.
have a head start, but nobody believed me that book existed.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can you be a true Star Wars fan and not know that book didn't exist? Mm-hmm. So when I walked out of the
Even when
theater,
he kissed his sister, God,
Yeah.
yuck.
but I came $100 richer that day. So yes. But yes, I feel that I would say he was
he
a
could have.
hero.
Why didn't he just go over and say tongue layer? Let me start.
You know that the book was written originally. Probably everybody knows about this, anyways. But it was supposed to be like they wanted to have something out there that they could adapt into a sequel to Star Wars that was low budget and cheap.
Right.
And but it was before they had this gigantic monster hit that was bigger than Jaws.
Yeah.
So
it was
then
like
they
your
could
insurance.
Right, it was like your insurance. But I mean, back then they were thinking it was seriously. The people were thinking it was going to be like Planet of the Apes, where they
Right.
could take the existing props and sets and make some lower budget movies based on what was already done. But it became unnecessary. But that's a wild book, and there a lot happens in there that is very unusual.
Funny you would bring up Jaws, because I remember reading somewhere where it had done so much. It had done such big business. Star Wars when it first came out. Steven Spielberg wrote a letter to George Lucas congratulating him on his movie and the fact that it surpassed his movie Jaws, because Jaws was one of those. It was one of the first, I guess you could say, summertime blockbusters.
Right.
And then you had, I guess, Close Encounter. Then you went on, and then Star Wars hit.
Right.
And that was the blockbuster movie. Remember, Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, they were the king of blockbuster summer movies at the time. So
Why were there no blockbusters before that?
because there was no videotape back then, we didn't have a place to go.
Yeah, there were.
There had to have been.
Well, there were a lot of movies that made a lot of money, like
Towering
The Exorcist,
Inferno.
Towering Inferno, Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah.
But I
But
mean,
they
the
weren't-
idea of people actually lining around the block,
To go
that was
see them.
unusual.
Yeah.
To go
Think
see
about
it
that.
again and
Nothing.
again
I mean,
and again.
well, The Exorcist did have people lining around the
Exorcist,
block.
yeah.
It did.
Right.
So it was a blockbuster, but it wasn't what you. It came out. Exorcist came out in Christmas time.
Yeah.
So Star Wars was one of the summer movie. It was a summer
Right.
movie.
Yeah.
Jaws was a summer movie.
Right.
But that became a social phenomenon.
Right.
And for a while,
Also, I
yeah.
think the thing too is that those movies like Jaws and Star Wars weren't just movies; they were like sort of thrill rides.
Yes.
So it was kind of
Yes.
like a summer experience, like going on a roller coaster, like going on an adventure. It was
So
like
you
something.
expected to stand in line.
Yeah, exactly. It's the blockbuster thing. There were always big movies that made huge money. There was a movie, Sound of Music,
Yes.
that was so popular. They ran it like at the Willow Lawn Theater for like a couple of decades. I mean, it ran all
That's
the way through.
first movie I
Yeah.
remember going to see.
But I mean, it was run. It was still run. This is before VCRs. You know, you know so to see a movie, a lot of times you have to wait to see it on TV, all cut up to pieces, on a little tiny black and white screen.
Right. Yeah.
But but that was it. I mean, I remember when Star Wars first came out, and I told my uncle I was in Yorktown. I said, we need to go early. He said, no. And so we went to the movie, and it was sold out. Not only was it sold out, but the next showing was sold out.
Wait a minute.
So we ended up going to the drive-in theater, and we got to see Lipstick and Black Sunday.
Yeah.
The blimp in the Super Bowl movie.
You said you were in Yorktown?
Yeah. I was in Yorktown.
Right.
Yeah, for
so
a
we
summer.
lived in Gloucester.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so this is funny. This is why I love my dad. My dad, now, it's me and my two sisters. They don't like sci-fi. We used to have to fight over the TV on Friday nights. They didn't want to watch Star Trek. They wanted to watch something. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
I used to have to fight. I had to fight to watch Star Trek.
I'll be honest with you. Truth be told, I didn't like Star Trek when it first came out. You know why? Because my mom just idolized Star Trek. I mean, this is a woman that thinks a green man is the sexiest thing in the galaxy.
Don't talk about your mother and Leonard Nimoy.
I'm not talking about my mother. I'm telling you the truth. I'm not talking about like my mama did that. No, I'm telling you the truth. And I hate it. It came on every Saturday night, and my grandmother, she'd be up there watching it, and I look forward to Mission Impossible, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I could do Mission Impossible.
I did like Mission Impossible.
But Star Trek, no.
But I love Star Trek. You know what? Let me tell you why I love my dad. Okay, so he took us to the theater. We went to Hampton.
Okay.
To the cinema.
Yep.
My dad said, y'all have to decide what movie.
You had to agree?
Oh, boy.
We had to agree.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, please, Lord.
You knew you were going to get outvoted.
Please, Lord, let us do Star Wars.
Wow.
The movie they wanted, it was sold out.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Right.
So we're watching the movie. My sisters, they are agitated.
Oh.
You can't be agitated. There are fight scenes. There's starship cruisers. They're fighting. Okay. We get through the movie. We get home. Classic. My mom said, well, did you all enjoy the movie? My sister stomp off. My dad's in the kitchen with my mom. She said, well, what was the movie about? My dad said, I will love my dad forever. I don't know, Mary. See, to me, though, it's just like a Western, but
Yeah.
Basically,
good guys and the
Western
good
set.
guys.
That's what it is.
That's
You
it.
think about it.
And the bad guys were black. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he distilled
nailed
it
it.
down to the
Right.
Nailed
essence.
it.
That is
Right.
the
And I was
essence
like,
of it.
I will always remember that. That was, oh my gosh. And from there on,
Right.
that was it.
That was
Well,
that's the essence
you know,
of it.
real quick, I was also the first time I saw Star Wars was at Hampton.
Yeah.
Because I think it was the Coliseum Theater or
It
whatever.
sure was.
And because we had to wait until after my day off when I was
Right.
working at the gas station for my uncle, and then I got to go see it finally. But my poor mom, she and my dad went to New York City to go visit some relatives or friends or something, and she wanted to see Star Wars too. And my dad took her to Radio City Music Hall so we could see the Rockettes. And so instead of Star Wars, you had to see Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh.
Which I told Mom, that's a great movie. It's funny. It's
But it's
awesome.
not
But it's not Star Wars.
Wars.
So she finally didn't get to see it. I think when I went to visit I took her to go see it because I saw it a bunch of times.
Right.
But yeah, it's really rough. You want to see, I said, Mom, you wanted to see Star Wars. I want to see Star Wars. I saw Lipstick and Black Sunday, and you got Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
Truth be told, I don't think I wasn't really interested in seeing Star Wars when it first came out. It never hit me until my sister. We both went to John B. Carey School down over in the neighborhood where I live, and I guess her teacher had taken a group of them to the movies to go see Star Wars.
Wow.
And
That's a field trip.
she came home, and all you heard from my sister was, this Wookiee noise, that's it. Oh, what'd you see? You're like, oh my gosh, So we had to go see what it is this girl actually doing these Wookiee noises. We had to go see, and then we saw it. My dad, I don't know if he saw it with us first at the drive-in or he went to the theater, but my dad is one of those people that he could rate a movie like that, okay? Mm-hmm. If he was in there in 2 minutes, he was asleep, the movie, he just slept through it. That's right. He did not sleep through Star Wars.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Darth Vader was his favorite character.
Yeah.
He was not,
it was unique and exciting. I was going to say another thing, I don't know if I brought this, but I remember seeing Media Scene magazine with the paintings, Ralph McQuarrie, of Star Wars before it came out. So I was one of the few people that locally that was aware it was coming. The thing was, though, from the article in the magazine, I thought it was going to be serious. I thought it was going to be, not I don't mean boring, but I mean it was going to be done straight. It was going to be more like 2001.
Right.
It was going to be like Dune, maybe more of a dramatic thing.
That was
and when I got to see it, it was like this crazy, wild, funny, action-packed.
Yeah.
But it was like everything going. It was not boring at all. It was not dry. It was like boom, 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 and it was like nothing anyone had ever seen. Yeah, it was unique,
different from everything.
and that's why people were lining up, because it was like no one had ever seen anything like this before, and people have to understand. People might look at it now and go like, I'm not really into it, and it's like, well, you have to remember that at the time that was it.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing as cool as that.
Yeah. Right. It takes that context. My other question for you to catch up is to think of a secondary character that you would be able to name them as a character that you think that they would have a story worth telling. Now, there have been a lot that have had other stories. Ahsoka has had her TV show, and Mandalorian and all that. But is there a different one that...
Without a doubt, Chewbacca.
See? Mm-hmm. I know that they covered
Chewbacca
him in
never
the
had a
comic
storyline.
book, but
Chewbacca never had a storyline.
Now, the last time we did this, Matt had one that I thought about it. Yeah, he's an interesting character, but you only see him
once. Yeah, you got him thinking.
And his character was Lobot. Yeah. Remember who Lobot is?
Yeah,
Lobot is on
Lobot,
he's on the Cloud City.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
And I would admit that was one of the when you watch that trailer, when you first see the Empire Strikes, that is one of the things you see, because you see that. I think you barely just see the carbon frozen Han Solo, maybe, but they're whisking by so fast. But that is one of the scenes that pops up. And I need to correct. Marvel did do a story on it, but what happened was his set got damaged, and he was on a rampage, and Lando had to reset. He had to fix it so that he could really actually work like he's supposed to.
I knew there was a backstory.
Yeah, exactly.
And that happened in the comic books after the movie show.
But that's what I would do. I mean, if because I remember, was it story about like when Jack Kirby went over to DC Comics and he said, "What's the worst selling book? Just give it to me." Because he didn't want to step on anyone's toes, and they gave him Jimmy Olsen, and he did some really wild stuff with that.
Right.
But I mean, everyone's done everything out there that I would say that if I was able to approach a DC or Marvel or Star Wars or Star Trek, I'd say, give me the most obscure character. I don't want to ruin them. I don't want to turn them into something that they're not. Right. But I would say someone that no one's ever messed with before, because then I could make it my own. Then I could do something interesting with them and give them more, partners and other characters and whatever, as opposed to like give me Han Solo or give me Darth Vader. It's like, no, give me. I can't think of anyone besides Lobot, but I'm sure there's, the guy who runs the bar at the cantina.
Mos Eisley,
there's a lot of opportunity with a trilogy of trilogies.
Yeah.
But definitely Chewbacca.
Yeah. That's right. You haven't done anything.
Because if you
they
think about it,
they did, but it
really
Life Day during the holiday special.
Yeah, the holiday special. That was just. I'm sorry.
It doesn't cut it.
It was just.
It sucked. I'm sorry, it sucked.
It was bad. It was badly put together. It was badly. But the jewel of that.
No, there was no jewel.
No, there was one. There was one positive. No, there was one positive thing.
The last would be that Skeletor looking at you.
There was one positive thing. There was one positive thing in that whole thing. They showed an animated short. They showed an animated short with Han Solo and Luke and Chewie.
Right.
And that was the best thing about the whole thing, was that animated piece.
The animated piece
rest of it was
had Han Solo looking like he was a blind little gutton just walking around.
Well, it still was cool, though. It had Boba Fett in it.
Y'all were just desperate for something.
Well, I'm sorry. I still want Disney to put out the 4K restoration of the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yes, they need to do that. I'll give you that.
Get out of the way.
I'll give you that.
But you know it'll make money. Just get it out of the way.
For a storyline for Chewbacca.
Okay. Yeah. So you got Harvey Korman, you got who else? The lady B. Arthur, and Jefferson Starship.
That's right.
Whew. Oh, that hurts.
If you want to see something funny, you go on YouTube and look up the Tron holiday special.
It's terrifying.
It's just a coming attraction, but it's right on the nose. It's got Gabe Kaplan in it.
We had a coming attraction so bad that it never came.
Yeah. There's actually been like that. There's been real.
Now, if you really want a good parody, there's Hardware Wars.
Hardware Wars.
I've seen that. It's
Which
scary.
is it is. It's hilarious
scary.
watching it.
It's scary.
You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll kiss you $3 goodbye. I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh at that one. That was funny.
That's awesome.
I'm trying to think. So
when it came to
you asked your two
Chewbacca,
questions. You asked your two questions.
Now there was a third.
Oh,
you
But
sure? Okay.
let me follow up with talking about Chewbacca.
Yes.
There was a scene, and I don't remember which movie of the trilogy of trilogies that it was, but they did weave in some opportunity for us to see Chewbacca's home planet and
I
all
think
of the
that was
Wookiees, and because you remember Yoda went to see them, and he was in his own little private rocket thing.
That was when Revenge
One
of
of
the
the prequels.
Revenge of the Sith.
and that was good. That
Yeah.
was good.
That
And
was-
then we saw a lot of them in, I won't say a lot, but in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, we did.
We loved the Clone Wars cartoons. If you're
Those
looking
are all
at
good.
Those
Star
are awesome,
Wars
yeah.
and you have not watched the Clone Wars cartoons, you're really missing something. I very rarely give actual advice.
There's two different Clone War cartoons, and they're both great. One is a traditional two-dimensional.
Yeah.
I don't remember the guy Tatarowski's got a name like that. He did the Clone Wars, and then they did the computer animated three-dimensional.
The computer animated.
They're
You know
both
what?
excellent.
I actually played them. I
Really
played the
loved them.
first. The volume. It's set in 2 volumes because basically it did one and did. I actually watched them with volume 1 first, the ones that he did, the 2 animated, and then I watched the Clone Wars, and I came back and watched that second Clone Wars, the 2D, and it actually works. It really does. If you go through, if you go through and look at it, and again, it was one of those things where he knew we were waiting for the clone. We were waiting for that next one. So he kind of
people could not wait for the next movie. That's the thing that's missing.
That's what made Star Wars so special. Also, is because it was an event.
Right.
It's like you knew one was coming after about 3 years. You knew there was one.
That came later.
What's that?
That came after the prequels.
That was later.
That's
after
the trilogy of trilogies.
Technically, it is.
Because I remember the
it was actually it does fit in. It fits in
it.
before Star Wars: A New Hope because it's a young lady, but it didn't get made until after Disney pretty much took over.
So it was before New Hope.
It was before New Hope, but Disney it was more, and it actually turned out to be a lot better than I thought it was. It was a better.
It was good.
It was a better animated.
And they
show.
actually introduced the character in Ahsoka.
She came in on. She came in on that too.
One thing I wanted to mention, if I didn't mention the last one, is that Chewbacca brought it up. Is like in Return of the Jedi when he is swinging through the trees and does the Tarzan yell. No, that was terrible. No, I mean I like funny, I like silly, but that took you out of the movie because it's like that's Tarzan, you know. It's
not a Wookiee.
But it wasn't the Wookiee. It was an Ewok. So I'll give it at least Chewie didn't do it.
I'd actually like to see a Star Wars, and that's actually an idea, a comedy Star Wars.
Yeah,
you know, where a legit like a legitimate
comedy on purpose.
Yeah, comedy purpose. Not Spaceballs a parody, but actually do a Star Wars comedy.
I don't know. I sure did like Spaceballs.
That would be okay.
I've seen a routine.
I like Spaceballs a lot. They're going to make a sequel apparently now.
AEI is it AEI? The awards? Okay. Well, there was a comedy routine. They started off and they brought out William Shatner. And William Shatner came out and he, it was special for George Lucas, and he came out and he said, I really like doing these things. I'm just so glad that they brought me in to do this, and
they had a roast.
It was, it was just so great to, to be here with Star Trek, and everybody looked at him, and the audience is looking at him weird. George is looking at him, and Stephen, Eric Carey's looking at him, Harrison there's like, wait a minute.
We're gonna have to find
and you see him, Star Wars. So they were getting the stormtroopers on stage about it. He said, okay, wait a minute, I can do Star Wars. I can do Star Wars. I can do Star Wars.
We're going to have to
and it ended up being this song and dance routine where William Shatner's not a singer, but he likes to talk his way through his songs. So he did the Frank Sinatra. and he had George Lucas. You did it your way, and he was doing it. He had the stormtroopers doing the kick to the side, doing like this upstage, and it was hilarious. It was hilarious. It was funny. It was well done.
Now,
it was
that's
actually
something though. Has anybody ever thought of offering to put William Shatner in a Star Wars project? He probably wouldn't do it, and it might be he's so iconic that it wouldn't work. But you kind of imagine that you could just see him maybe with like some makeup or some alien disguise or something.
The close, I think the
he's
closest
still got to
he
play Shatner.
Okay, better off. He'd probably be better as a voice on a computer screen or a droid, where it's like, hi. It's like, may the Force be with you.
The closest he got to doing anything Star Wars movie, it was a movie that it wasn't. It was a movie about these guys that wanted to go
fanboys.
Yeah,
fanboys.
And they called, and for some reason,
movie.
William Shatner was in. And he was like,
"Hey,
I know you. You're William Shatner." He says, "Yes, I am."
I need to be writing down all these.
He says, "Well, what are you doing here?" He said, "You want the keys of Lucasfilm? You need to talk to me." Yeah, I'm like, "Oh my God!" That's like William Shatner knows all,
Fanboys. So, I'm definitely going to put.
So Fanboys is another one of those movies you can definitely watch.
So we're
gonna surge into something a little bit different with this.
I still didn't get my last question.
Well, go ahead.
What will you let her do?
Come on, I gotta go home. I gotta get to Tossie Station to get my power converters. Come on, man.
Come on.
If there were no Star Wars, if it just hadn't happened, how different do you think your life would be? What would the Star Wars gap look like? And everybody had a different answer. You can imagine what my answer was, because none of my animals would have names if there hadn't been a Star Wars.
No, actually, this is Evie. This is my interpretation of Evie without Star Wars. She'd be right there in the center of the screen, and she'd look up and go, "You know what? I'm happy."
Hit him. Boink, boink.
Oh, you got it, Droopy Dog. You got it.
I cannot imagine.
Remember Spaceballs?
Because I'll tell you something. About Evie.
Remember?
When we first met Evie, it was when those two worked at Suncoast.
Yeah.
Suncoast. That gives you an idea how long ago
I missed that store. That was a great store.
It was.
Maybe you didn't like it working from the other side of the counter.
But actually, I had a ball doing it.
Yeah.
We loved it.
It was awesome.
If you want to talk about movies, you could go into Suncoast, and there would be somebody in there who loved movies.
We loved it.
But I'll tell you, I was going to say, I might probably mention it in the other one too, but I was so old, I do remember no Star Wars. There still would have been Planet of the Apes and Star Trek.
Yes.
And there was actually a war between the fans. I mean, like a Cold War or begrudging sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Between the Star Trek, the Trekkies and the
Trekkies and the Apes, what they call themselves.
But it's weird now because they're still making Planet of the Apes movies. They're different. They're CGI. But
still making Star Trek stuff. They're still making Star Trek stuff. Because I remember I didn't get interested in Star Trek till it actually came out in the movie form, and then I started going back watching the old episodes. I like the old series now. I actually do like it. But I didn't watch it until, and we went to go see Star Trek the Motion Picture. We were at the West Hampton Theater, and it was so funny because Spock came out and he had this long hair. He was out there doing this, during
his hippie days.
Yeah. So somebody in the audience was like,
hippie days.
"Spock's a hippie!" It was so funny, and we were laughing. Everybody laughed for a good 5 minutes after he said that. But
you're right, because when I was a kid, I didn't hate it, but I didn't really like Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I thought that the ship was weird looking because everything I'd seen before Rocket was like pointy and straight.
Yes.
Exactly.
There was nothing aerodynamic about it.
And it's just like this sort of weird looking shape, and I just really couldn't understand it.
It wasn't even a saucer like you think.
I mean, I get it now, right?
Saucer,
right?
Yeah. But so. We could.
But I did like that everybody on the show wore pajamas 24/7.
Oh my gosh!
That's what it looked like. It looked like people in the future wearing pajamas. I was going,
"Hey, Captain Kirk, where you going? Where you going? Hey, Captain Kirk, where you going? I'm going to bed, man. It's time to go to sleep." Yeah. But Captain, you're supposed to be on the bridge. I'm going to sleep. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
And
I swear it was pajamas, man. It looked like pajamas.
Now, producer John said that he wanted to talk about
Stop. Don't go there.
A different show.
Now, everybody likes to compare franchises.
Head to head.
Everybody likes to compare franchises.
Did Evie answer what her life would be like?
She
with
did.
That?
No,
she didn't. I just gave it to her.
And
She knows it's true. Watch.
Okay.
Is it true, Evie? Yes, it is. Yes, I would be Droopy Dog. Yes, that would be me.
Can be sitting here, here or anywhere, going like, "There's something missing from my life. I don't know what it is."
Well, that's kind of what I was.
It's coming through.
What is it? Yeah.
Hello there, my little friend.
No, I think it would have been a lot of. I guess what John did say was actually true. It wouldn't have been the same. But,
Who knows? It's out there in the multiverse somewhere.
It is. It would have been it would have probably been more Doctor Who than anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Doctor Who came first.
You'd have been watching reruns of Jason the Star.
Jason the Star.
Yeah. Dragos.
Space
Oh my God.
But I did
Space
watch
Academy.
Yes, Space Academy. That's you. You Space Academy.
No, I'm not Space
Yes,
Academy.
you are.
I watched a lot
Oh,
of Buck
my God.
Rogers.
You'd have Pamela Frieden spar too.
Pamela Ferdin. Excuse me.
Frieden.
She was
Ferdinand.
beautiful. I had such a crush on her, but especially in her Space Academy uniform.
I couldn't believe that they had.
Wow.
She was going to be one of those who was chosen for The Exorcist. She
Yes.
was in the running.
And she
for
was
that.
in an episode of Star Trek.
She might have been actually
Yeah.
creepier than Linda Blair.
But you
I think.
didn't watch
She might
just
have
all British stuff. You did.
But I did.
You did watch the
because
rest of it.
because in Gloucester, PBS came in so
PBS.
crystal clear.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So between that and Dark Shadows, and it was like
Dark Shadow.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it show- you know
We used to run that on WRLH Fox Richmond.
what?
You was a
Back when it was
Zoomer,
TV
man.
35
I
in
wasn't
the
a Zoomer.
You was a
1982.
Zoomer, man. I know you was
I
Zoomer.
forgot about
Yeah,
that. We were running
no.
Dark Shadows.
Look, I'm
I
telling
used
you,
to always watch
this
Zoomer.
girl was a Zoomer.
We ran home from school to be able
Yep.
to see that.
She's a Zoomer, okay? She was PBS. I guarantee you, she
Yeah.
was up there doing the LBW language and all that
Oh,
stuff. Yeah,
up by
that's
Nabu, sub by one.
Yeah, that's her. I'm sorry, down the line. And me, it was always Electric Company because hey, you know,
Okay, so let me throw out another question that's just
Okay,
totally
here we go.
random.
All right.
Hands shown for people who liked Red Dwarf.
Oh, yeah. Love Red Dwarf. Love it.
There you go.
yeah.
There you go.
Love
Anything
the
can
smeg
happen.
out of it.
We found consensus.
Hey, Smeghead.
Yeah.
That's
So anyway, everybody likes to put franchise against franchise. One of the
As in
Star Wars
DC
is one of them, Star
versus
Trek is one of them,
Marvel.
but they always like to compare Star Trek and Star Wars, where they are two totally different things. All right, if you're going to do Star Trek, this will be another sometime down the line. You want to compare Star Trek? Go to Babylon 5, and
Yes.
we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Babylon
That's
5.
another
That's
whole,
true.
a whole nother show right there.
Yep.
Star Trek. No, Star Wars. I'm about to do the same thing you did the first one. Star Wars did have a competitor. Matter of fact, a producer and director, Mr. Lucas, was very sore and was going to sue their butts off. The name of the show was BattleStar Galactica.
Yep.
And Battlestar Galactica was that holdover until Star Wars came up, because I was one of those that watched it on premiere night and was sitting there, got interrupted by a presidential speech. I could have killed the president myself when that happened, but they came on and said, we will be showing the show in its whole entirety. So I was like, okay, you can be president for the rest of your term. So it was like, wow. And it was like, you look at it and you go, wow, what it would be like to be catapulted out of the cylindrical ship,
Yeah.
be catapulted out into space, and you're flying a Viper. It's like, whoa, that's cool. But those were the two that I like to compare, because there were a lot of similarities between the two. You had two empires, the Cylon Empire and the regular Empire, the Empire from the Star Wars people. And then you had your good guys. They were in all the uniform. You know, you had your rebels, and then you had your colonial warriors. See, rebels, colonial warriors, you know. Hey, that sounds kind of like old-fashioned, doesn't it? Yeah.
Sure does.
So for me, those two are the ones that had a big change in my life. Now, as they went on, they were remade. Star Wars was remade. They had new
Over
movies.
and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I wasn't as fond of the newer movies as some of the other people were. Matter of fact, I watched Force Awakens, and Force Awakens kind of reminded me that I just wanted to watch A New Hope over again and be happy. The second one, which was what was the second one?
What was the second?
The Last Jedi.
talk
sorry,
about
we don't want to
Jedi.
talk about that because I just can't see Mary Poppins. It's like Mary Poppins.
Oh no!
The Mary Poppins scene where Leia comes floating down, and I was waiting for her to give me a spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down.
No.
So I couldn't do that. And then the Rise of Skywalker, I wanted to rise up and leave the theater after a while. And a matter of fact, I don't even think I went to go see Rise of Skywalker in the theater. I went to. Did I? I don't know if we did or not. I think I waited till it came out.
Don't worry, I'll trash talk.
And the only reason I really watched it was because they brought back Lando Calrissian, and it was I mean, it was one of those things where it was, okay.
Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica, on the other hand, liked the show. It ended too early. It only stayed on for a year, and it was great. Everybody liked it. Starbuck, Apollo, Boomer,
Everybody
all of
didn't
it.
like it.
Yes, they did. Most people.
There were a lot of people who
I am everybody. I'm
There were a lot of
everyday.
people.
did. Have you forgotten Galactica 1980?
Whoa, yeah!
Yeah.
That
The
was
guy from Adam
hilarious.
12 was on there. Whoa!
Most people want to forget that even existed.
I was waiting, but when I saw
hilarious.
him on there, I was like, "One Adam 12, one Adam 12.
Yeah.
We got a Cylon Raider over here." Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
With their flying motorcycles. Come on.
Okay, I'll give you the flying motorcycles. That was kind of cool.
I'll
Yeah.
say this:
What's that?
when Battlestar Galactica came on, by that time we had 2 TVs.
There you go.
And if you didn't already, you would
I
have gotten
was
2 TVs.
ecstatic
Okay.
because I had the worst crush on Dirk Benedict, Richard
Yep.
Hatch,
Yeah.
Wow.
and I loved. I was a big Lauren Green fan anyway.
Everybody loved Lauren Green.
That's
Come on,
true.
dude.
I'm sorry.
If Lauren Green was
That's
is in
Colonel
anything, it's
Adama,
like, yeah.
Colonel Adama.
Not Colonel, it was Commander Adama. What's wrong with you?
I don't care.
Colonel Ty.
Colonel Ty.
Colonel Ty.
Who
Colonel
cares?
Commander Adama.
Who cares? Adama was the man.
Okay, he was the man, but get his rank straight.
Whatever.
Get his rank
Whatever.
straight. Get his rank straight.
Did you feel
Anyway.
the same way about the remake Adama?
No, I didn't.
No, I'm not talking about the TV show. I'm just talking about Adama. The actor, the character.
Oh, you mean
James Edward old
something.
guy. James Edward old guy.
From
Oh,
Miami
sorry.
Vice.
Yes.
Almost.
He was the bomb on
He
Miami
was.
Vice.
He was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
And so I
Yeah.
liked him
Yeah.
on Battlestar Galactica.
They
didn't
started
like
getting
the
a little
series,
bit
but I
away
liked
from
him.
it,
Yeah.
from the whole
My problem,
purpose.
I think my problem, it might be the same as yours. My problem
Yeah.
with Battlestar Galactica is the remake of it is that they called it Battlestar Galactica, and it was as far as space, for a space adventure or a space
Yeah.
show, it was okay. I'll give it that, but it wasn't Battlestar Galactica. It should have been called something else
Yeah.
other than Battlestar Galactica, and it would have been fine. But the original Battlestar Galactica was built around your family could sit down and watch it. I mean, there was times that Starbuck and Cassie were whatever, but they didn't go that far with it. It was just a fun show to
was
watch.
not family friendly.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
At
No.
all.
It was like she was
And-
getting a little bit going to the left, and it was like, oh wait a minute, I got to Christian, you need to go ahead on the bed because this is like this ain't good for you.
Yep.
But see, I like the original because it was they were on a mission to find a new Earth.
It was hopeful.
Well,
Yeah, it was a new hope.
as I heard, yeah, basically.
And that's what I loved about it.
Yeah.
But like you're right,
Well,
they ended it too early. You know, I was waiting. I wanted more.
It started off though. I mean,
Yeah.
with a really huge downer. I mean, Battlestar
Yeah.
Galactica, they like wiped the
whole
genocide of the
Yeah.
the
whole
human race, that human race.
Yeah,
Right,
and then we go
Cyclops.
exploring. So then it got a little lighter as it went
Yeah.
on and all that. But it was a fun show. It was
Yeah.
definitely a rip-off of Star Wars. I mean, I know the original script for it was before Star Wars, but they, everything that you said, like the Vipers were like X-wings, and like
Yeah.
the Cylon
Right, yeah.
Raiders were like the TIE fighters, and the sound effects were the same, and the lasers were the same, and all that.
And the
But it was fun, but it was.
They could have
It was a
what-
ripoff, and I remember. I think I mentioned too, I told you earlier, when I was at the set of Empire Strikes Back, and I was backstage talking to some of the engineers and people. I just happened to bring up Battlestar Galactica, and they looked at me and they said, "Don't talk about that here. That is forbidden subject. We don't
a
mention
forbidden
that
subject.
around here."
Was
And
this
I said,
before or after the lawsuit?
Probably
It was probably during.
Probably
It was
during. Yeah.
Battlestar didn't come
this
until
would've been
after. It came out
1979.
after Star Wars, and it was right before Empire. So it was.
Well, I don't blame Lucas for suing.
Wow.
You know.
But the one thing I guess about Battlestar Galactica and the television show, and the fact that it actually came to the movie. Me and Matt were talking about this earlier. It came to the movie theaters after it was a television show,
Right.
and they bought it to the theater, and they bought it in this thing called Sensurround, which was basically these big, humongous subwoofer speakers in the rear of the theater. So when the Viper would come out of the tunnel of the Battlestar, you would feel it. I mean, whatever. Any explosion, you'd feel it all the way through.
Didn't they do that for Days of Thunder too?
No, I wish they had it. There probably would have been.
I know they did it for Earthquake, Midway, Roller Coaster, which I saw in Hampton as well, with Sensurround. But anyways, we were about Battlestar. So it was fun. There were toys. Toys were not as good as the Kenner toys, But the remake, I actually liked the new. It was 2000 or 2006. I forget what time period it was where it came out. The remake of Battlestar. It was very different. They made Starbuck a woman, and it was much more serious and somber in tone. And I watched it first, and I really got into it. It was a different take. It didn't replace Battlestar Galactica to me.
Right.
It was a very different take.
It was a different take on it.
And what I like, and this is sort of my personal interest, is I like when there is a bigger story. And I think there was like that bigger story in Star Wars, and there's like a bigger story there was in Star Trek. Something bigger. There's a mythology going on, and they introduced every episode saying like the Cylons this, and they have a plan. And it's like, what are they up to? Because like it was like not just episodic, but the story kept evolving, and you were introduced to the mystery of the final 5 Cylons. Who are they? Oh, and by the way, they actually took the premise from Galactica 1980.
They did. The human Cylons, because they actually did that. So one of the last.
That's the one thing that survived. They made the human-looking Cylons the Cylons that were the main, antagonists in the new show. But then later found out, this is just like the show Lost, which I loved Lost as well too. Had this great mythology, all these clues, all these things. You get to the end, and it turns out we didn't know what we were doing. We're just making it up. And the same thing with the final 5 Cylons. Apparently, the producers they said, okay, they took a dartboard and threw darts and said, okay, he's a Cylon and he's a Cylon. He said, well, no, he already had a baby, and we already saw Colonel Ty earlier as a young man. Don't contradict me with facts. Let's just make them the final 5 Cylons. So, and then they never explained what the plan was. They never said, what is the plan? They actually did a TV movie. Look forward to it. It was called The Plan. Have you seen it or heard about it?
I remember.
And it was Dean Stockwell. Basically, it was a repeat show. It was like one of those flashback show, where they showed what happened before.
With Dean Stockwell?
Dean Stockwell was one of the Cylons, evil Cylons.
He
was great.
Yes,
he was very good.
He was.
But in the movie,
you've got to see if that's on YouTube.
I'm sure it's there. But in the movie, they actually have a scene where, because I said, okay, I got to watch. What is it?
This has turned so educational.
Yeah. Said, well, what's the plan? And they said, well, what is the plan? And Dean Stockwell goes, the same plan as always: kill humans. That's it.
That's it.
I'm thinking of Pinky in the Brain now.
Yeah, that's it. What are we doing tonight?
What we're going to do today, sir?
Kill humans.
We're going to kill humans.
What they do every night, Pinky? Kill humans. That's right.
Oh, wow. Wow. Oh,
but that's the thing. It's like, I'm writing my book. Plug Jack Magic.
I
got the first 2 out. Right. But the thing is, it's like there is a mythology, there is a secret, there's something going on that is being slowly revealed. And it's not like, well, I don't know what I was doing.
I think that's what was missing from. I think
I
that's
have
what's
an
missing.
answer. I'm making some. I actually know. I have a plan, and it's actually going to be revealed.
I think that's what's missing from the newer version of Battlestar. At least, all right, Battlestar Galactica. This ragtag fugitive team on this quest for the planet Earth. Right. You knew that was the ongoing thing in the background. But each show had a true beginning, a true middle, true ending.
Yeah.
Even though at the end of it, this is a ragtag fugitive fleet. They always kept that there, so it didn't do that. But The other thing is Battlestar Galactica. You'd be surprised how many guest stars popped up on the original Battlestar.
Oh, of course.
Rick Springfield, who was for Jesse's Girl. He was actually Apollo's brother in the pilot episode.
Brother,
Fred Astaire popped up there. One of the Match Game girls. What's her name?
Oh Lord, the one that was married to Jack
Klugman.
Was it Barney Benton?
Brett Summers.
Also,
chasing after Lauren Green.
What's the name was?
That episode.
He played on Tattletales with his wife, but they did a 2-hour special, and they played two droids, Hector and Vector.
Oh yes, they had
Bobby Van. Again, another. They would bring it.
The guy who played the Scarecrow.
And then the biggie was Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges. Lloyd Bridges. Lloyd Bridges played Commander Kane.
I'm sorry, Lloyd Bridges.
In a 2-part episode where he came back with the Battlestar Pegasus. That was, everybody just flipped. That was one of those who was like, yeah, I got to watch this one. And
wouldn't it be great if he was still around and he could do like a comedy sketch about it, and he'd be going like, it's like the commander of the Pegasus. Looks like I picked the wrong week to stop sleeping blue.
That's from Airplane. Oh, wow.
From Airplane, right?
Yeah, I can see him now hanging up on the...
I don't have a problem with the series, or like doing a show that's more serious in tone and whatever.
But they could have fun with the original series. Had fun. It was a serious show, but they could have fun with it. I mean, even the episode when they had Fred Astaire, he had it had a comedic tone to it, but it was still had a serious part, and you had to deal with the beryllium Nomen, these guys that had Brillo pads for beards or whatever. And they talked about all the makeup and stuff they had to put on. They had to kick all this nasty makeup on and stuff like that. But they showed that, I think if you look at the box set of Battlestar Galactica, which I have, they were talking about the Cylons, how clunky they were, and how they'd be walking, stuff would be falling off of them, their arms would be falling off, whatever. I think there was a scene where Apollo had to go up against one. They did this kind of Western duel, and they had to pull him back, and they pulled him back, and what they did was, to make it look like he fell really hard, they sped up the film, so they pulled him back for it, and it was really neat watching them talk about it.
I also like this, just the throwaway thing. There was some of the openings of the A-Team show with Dirk Benedict was on, where he's standing there, and you actually hear the Cylon go behind him, and he goes, wait, do I know you from somewhere?
Okay, now here's a question for you.
Let's do it.
Dirk Benedict, like him, great actor. Okay, can you explain to me why he looks like Sam from Quantum Leap? Like he could be his long lost brother or something. There's a similarity between the two. You look at him and go, "Is that Dirk?" No, not quite. But you look at Scott Bakula and you go, yeah, kind of. Is it him? No, it's not. Is it him?
Was no, it's not.
There's something that's familiar about the two characters. They look. I mean, they're both Universal properties. Okay, both Quantum Leap and Battlestar. But for some reason, you look at Scott Bakula and he turned a certain way. It's like
he does.
Looks like Starbuck. Wow, I don't know.
I never knew that. I mean, maybe you mentioned it now. I never thought that, but that's okay.
Yeah. But the character. Like I said, for me, Battlestar, I like the characters in it. Lauren Green, if you were going to have anybody leading this ragtag team, it had to be Lauren Green without a doubt. I mean, they all looked up to him. He was like the leader of the show, basically. Yeah. So they all kind of looked up to him. But they said he was a practical joker.
But that wasn't
a big time practical joker on the set. He'd be making all sorts of cracks and everything. The little fart games and stuff. Like he would actually do stuff like that, but.
Now, if you were comparing that to Star Wars, because you said this was the two franchises that you would put head to head, Star Wars didn't have. I mean, I guess you could say Alec Guinness's character,
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
There was nobody but he was kind of about as close as you can get.
Lauren Green is no Yoda.
No, he's not.
No. I would compare he's more I would compare him more to the Obi-Wan kind of person, because he was that voice of reason. He was their leader, and you look at Obi-Wan, and
it was a different construct though too, because it was it was like a father and son, and then there was you had all the pilots, and so it really wasn't exact one-on-one.
You saw,
but you had a lot of the same
superficial.
Things.
It was like the explosions, the spaceships, the laser beams, and the occasional alien here and there.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Like Jonathan Harris was the voice of Lucifer. It was
Oh,
like
man.
That was so
This
bizarre.
with the see-through
Yeah.
glass
I
android
just-
with the eyes going like that.
I
like
just
that.
could not. I just couldn't go there.
By your command.
You remember when
I just-
Lucifer got jealous? He
I
got
just couldn't
jealous.
go
He
there.
got jealous of another one. There was another
Yes,
one,
there
another
was another
I
one
series
like
or
it,
whatever.
yeah.
And he got so jealous, and you could hear it. Oh, droll. You know,
Yes.
and you know how
Right.
you know how you hear Dr.
But you know,
Phil
the
go,
irony
"Oh, Will, my boy." You know?
Jonathan Harris literally played a bubble-headed booby on Battlestar Galactica.
Bubbling booby eye. Oh man. Oh
Indeed.
boy.
No,
Indeed.
the worst part of Battlestar Galactica was the episode where was it the guy that was from the Avengers? Or
Oh,
the
Patrick
Briti-
McNee. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Patrick McNee when he was on there,
Right.
And it got all kind of
There's a scene he
freaky.
did with There's a scene.
Well,
he
that
did-
was more serious, though.
No,
He was
but there was
supposed
a
to be
scene-
the devil, really.
They talked. Ann Lockhart talked. There was a part that he
Right.
was supposed to do with her,
Yeah.
and he was trying to
I mean,
to
the
mind
part
control
that
with
they cut
her.
was
Yeah.
bad,
And
but the
what
part
he
that they
said
didn't
was-
cut was still bad.
Something about I'm being inside of you, and they both cracked up
Oh,
because of
okay.
when they were talking. She was trying to take it seriously. It's like this is a family show, and you're talking about being inside of me. I'm like, oh wow,
it
that's
was horrible.
it was.
Absolutely horrible.
But he was.
I bet he did not put that on his resume.
He might
Going
have.
forward.
Oh, he may have.
He might have.
I bet he might have said, and I had some unnamed.
Okay, let's put it this way.
moments.
If I had to choose between that and him playing Tippett in a James Bond movie, I think I would go with the Battlestar Galactica one. Do you remember him in James Bond
Yeah.
and View to a Kill? His name was Tippett. Oh, Tippett.
He played the Invisible Man in
Did he really?
an Invisible Man in the Avengers movie, the one
Okay.
that was starred Ray Fiennes,
Sean Connery and
Uma Thurman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sean Connery is the bad guy. So,
He got
was
around.
so I think I think at that point in his career he would take anything. Don't blame him. So was Laurence Olivier.
But he had a
was
good
doing
voice, so he did
Polaroid
the-
commercials towards
He
the
did the voiceover for the beginning of
You do
Battlestar
what you
Yes,
gotta
he
do.
did.
So
That's right.
and he had such a distinct voice.
Yeah.
There's some actors that have a distinct voice, like
Oh, yeah.
Roscoe Lee Brown. Roscoe Lee Brown actually did when they put Star Wars on a vinyl,
Yeah.
and they put it like 30. They cut it down to like
Right.
an hour, so it's 30 on one side, 30 on the other. And Roscoe Lee Brown did the narration for Star Wars, Story of Star Wars.
Right.
And it was cool. You know, and it fit.
And he
You know,
didn't
he
voice
fit
any
really well.
characters.
But
He just did
he just did the
narration.
narration
Right.
for it. But you know, when he would talk about Darth Vader, and he'd get he wasn't low as James Earl
He-
Jones, but he just
Wasn't he? He was Box in Logan's Run. That was a really
Yes.
like this weird, crazy
Yes.
cyborg.
Oh,
yes, he
yeah.
was.
Say plankton from the sea.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, when I first saw Star Wars, I didn't know who James Earl Jones was. He was a very
Yes.
serious, dramatic actor, and when I heard that voice, that was to me Darth Vader's so cool because he had that James Earl Jones voice,
Yeah.
and I thought Darth Vader was a black man.
Really?
Was going, or would have, or was supposed to be. Maybe we'd never see his face, but he was supposed to be black.
Yeah.
I had no problem
Which
with
was
that.
part of the reason
Yeah.
when he said, "I'm your father," there was a shock there.
Yeah,
Because we
well,
had our expectations.
Right. Well, but earlier in Empire Strikes Back, you saw him without his helmet, and it was a white head, scarred head.
Right.
There. So, you know,
Okay, now there's one
I
thing
think it's funny though. In that, what is it? The final prequel, the Return of the Sith,
Return of the Jedi.
Revenge
It was Revenge of the Sith.
where they just put him in the uniform, and all of a sudden he just starts talking like James Earl Jones. It's like that's an arbitrary setting. It's okay, cyborg body, and they didn't take his pants off either. They left his pants on, put the uniform, the armor around him, and he starts talking like no.
No.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, here's my pet peeve
But he
with
was
Star
cool.
Wars.
James
people.
Earl Jones' voice, awesome. Go
You
ahead.
don't have a.
Here's my pet peeve that I have with. For a while they kept saying, "There's no black people in Star Wars. There's no black people in Star Wars."
Oh, that's not Star Wars.
Now,
That's the complainers.
right. There were some complainers about there's no black people in Star Wars. Okay, now, when I remember when I went to go see Star Wars, it was black people. I ain't gonna see no daggone Star Wars. What's wrong with you? I won't go see I won't go see Cleopatra Jones or whatever. And they just dissed Star Wars. So I'm tired of people saying there was no black people in Star Wars, okay? It's because none of them wanted to be around it when it first came out. Even the people in England didn't want to be around it when it first came out. When Star Wars was actually filmed, the people in England thought George Lucas was a nutcase.
Right.
they thought he was a nutcase.
Yeah.
They was
Well,
like,
the movie was never intended to be a huge hit. It was just intended to be a fun science fiction movie.
Yep.
That they had some hopes maybe they could do a TV series based on
Right.
it. There
or
was
Saturday
no.
morning thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I
but
mean,
you
it
know
was
who
amazing.
saw more
but,
than that?
But he immediately addressed the whole issue. He said, "Okay, we're going to put Lando Calrissian
Right.
and make him a featured player in the second
Right.
one." And then from that point on, you saw a lot more black extras.
There's
Yeah.
two
They
things
even
about
put
that,
Asian
though.
extras in the third movie.
There's two
Yeah.
things about that, though. Alan Ladd, who helped bring Star Wars to 20th Century Fox, he believed in Lucas, so he thought he was valuable, and he kept Fox off of him. He kept Fox off of him while he did it.
Yeah.
Now, truth be told, the character Han Solo was patterned after a black guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went back and talked about the making. Han Solo was actually probably would have been a black guy, and I think somebody saw Harrison Ford, and Lucas is one of those people. He doesn't like to reuse characters, but I think it might have been even Spielberg that said, "No, you need to go. You're gonna have to go with him." Somebody convinced him that you need to go with Harrison Ford, because he actually was there. He was the person that they were when they were reading the scripts and they're trying to find their actors to play these characters. Harrison Ford was there reading the script with him, and he did it so well that there was no reason not to put him as Han Solo.
Right.
He
He
embodied
Han Solo.
the Han Solo
Yeah.
character. So it was like, no, you're gonna have to
Have
go
you
with
seen
Harrison.
his
I
table
mean,
reading?
it's-
I think it was
the
like the
table.
coolest thing.
Have you ever watched the table readings?
is
Because
so
they had
funny.
William
Yeah.
Catt read for Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
William Catt, the greatest American
okay.
hero. Ooh,
Right.
William Catt. They had who else did they have read for? There was a couple other people, well-known actors that they had read for characters. I don't know if
Like Russell,
Was it Russell Crowe?
not Russell Crowe.
Before his
the
time.
Disney kid.
Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell. I think
Russell,
he read.
yeah.
He tried to read for Han Solo. Kurt
Yeah.
Russell. I don't know if
Really glad he didn't get it.
Me.
what's the guy?
It would never work.
Deer
It wouldn't
Hunter.
have-
That was in the Deer
John
Hunter.
Boyd?
No, not John Boyd.
Willem Dafoe?
No, not Willem.
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken.
Oh, okay.
I think Christopher Walken actually may have read for Han Solo. I'm
Yeah.
not quite sure.
Okay.
But
That wouldn't have been.
I'm sorry. You look at Christopher Walken. I just can't see
You
why.
need more
Yeah, it's
cowbells.
not going to work. You know.
You need more cowbells.
Cowbells. You got cowbell. You want more cowbells.
Yeah.
More cowbells. I get no.
Chewbacca.
It'd be like putting William Shatner.
Christopher
It'd be like,
Walken.
yeah,
Christopher Walken. She's rich.
she's rich.
I don't know, kid. I can imagine quite a lot.
I think she's rich. She could be rich, you know. Maybe. I don't know. No, it's just not going to work for me. That'd be like William Shatner being.
Yeah.
Right.
That'd be like William
Well, you
Shatner
know
trying to
that
be Obi-Wan
Tom
Kenobi.
Selleck was going to be Indiana Jones.
Oh, Lord.
And
Seriously?
yeah, and
Yeah,
they
Tom Selleck.
suggested Harrison Ford, but I think
Spielberg
it was
convinced
Harrison
him.
Ford didn't want to take the role originally.
Lucas didn't want him either.
He didn't want to become like Robert De Niro was to
The Godfather.
Scorsese. Yeah, because he didn't want to have the same actors
Yeah.
over and over again in all his movies.
Yeah.
But I mean, I
Well,
love
he
Tom
changed
Selleck.
his
I think he's
mind.
awesome.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine him as Indiana
Me
Jones. It would be a
neither.
different
Yeah.
personality
Right.
entirely.
Right. He just
yeah.
had the.
Wow.
Harrison Ford just had that
Yeah. Right.
for Han Solo.
Yeah.
He had that attitude.
Right.
That one scene when they get out of that trash compactor, and she says, "Can somebody get this walking carpet out of my way?" And he's like, "It's okay, Jim."
Okay, I got a question for you guys. Seriously, I don't know if you brought. I don't think you brought it up. Maybe you did. If I am sorry, I've stole it from you. But like, just start with the original Star Wars, the original Part 4, whatever. Is the movie perfectly cast or not? Is there someone there that could have been replaced with someone better?
I don't think so.
Because that's my answer. I don't think so. I think
I
it's
don't
like
think so.
lightning in a bottle. I think everybody there. Mark Hamill's probably, forgive me, he's probably the lesser of the actors.
Right.
But for that part,
No, he fit it fine.
the farm boy, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
he
He fit it
was
fine.
got a good personality. He was like, you know, charming and everything.
Yeah, he
Right.
fit it fine.
Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, perfect. Harrison
Yes.
Ford, perfect.
Yes.
You know,
Even
Peter
when you
Cushing,
get
perfect.
Oh
Yeah.
man, wow.
And of course, and James Earl Jones as Darth Vader's voice.
right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I would say yeah, all the way up into Empire, especially even with. I think to find somebody who's a rogue like Han Solo, but had that debonair look, Billy D. Williams was probably the way to go, because he had. If you look at him, he's so sickly sweet. It makes you almost puke, almost, because there's a scene where he comes up to Leia and goes, "Welcome, Leia." I mean, it's like Lady Sings the Blues. Watch Lady Sings the Blues. I mean, this guy is just perfect for it.
Let me tell y'all. I'm gonna tell you the funniest thing. When I went to see Empire Strikes Back, I'm in the theater, and by this time, I said, "To hell with it. I'm going by myself. Everything I do, I go by myself."
Yeah.
I'm casing the theater, and I'm noticing, where the hell all these black people come from?
It was that Schlitz.
Any other time,
What could be different this time?
any other
What could be
time,
different?
no disrespect, love y'all,
Yeah.
but I'm the only little morsel.
You know, it's like, you didn't see the
I'm only a little
uncut. You
more
didn't
for
see
the
the
cookie.
uncut version of Empire Strikes Back, because there's a scene in there where he comes up and says, "Why you slimy, no good, double crossing swindler?
Exactly.
Let's have a slit small leg of
That was so funny. They did that. So when they get to
Billy D.
I loved it.
Billy D.
When they get to Bespin, and Leia's coming down that walk,
You look
and
absolutely
Luke
beautiful.
and Han says to Chewie,
Get out of here.
"Just watch out. Just look, keep your eyes
Keep your
open."
eyes on.
And he comes over. You got a lot of nerve coming here, man. To hear the females in that theater.
Wow.
What? Oh my God! I'm like, oh, for real? Really, Diva? Really?
Yeah.
But like I said, you can see he was the perfect. Even his lines, like it's the scene where he first sees Leia come through, he's like,
Smooth, yes.
"Oh, you look absolutely
Yes.
beautiful."
You
And
sit
then,
among-
and then you see Han Solo trying to, he's that same.
Yes.
All right.
But I had to
you're
laugh.
smoothie. You go,
Yes,
you're smoothie.
right.
Whatever.
But I had to laugh.
They play each other so
They did,
well.
and it was perfect. It was like,
So I think, as far as
Yeah.
choosing the characters for Star Wars, I think he did a good job.
Yeah.
I think it was phenomenal.
It was
Yeah.
I think it was the perfect cast.
Yeah.
It really
But
was.
Did you approve of it when they did the
Prequels?
Solo?
Oh, the Solo movie.
And
at
Solo.
first I had my
loved it.
doubts about it
I
at first,
thought it
because the
was
kid that
I
played
was kind of
Solo,
nervous when I saw
the
it.
kid that played Solo kind of scared me, but he actually lived up to it. Now the
held-
one that
he
was the
held his
perfect
own.
was the guy that played Lando.
The
Yeah.
guy
Yeah.
that
It's like
played
he
Lando,
stood up there,
I
he
cannot
watched
remember
everything
his
that
name.
man
I
did, and he
apologize.
carried it
know.
right on over into
He
it.
did a wonderful
Even,
job.
That's his
even
name,
Woody
Glover.
Harrelson's character
Yes,
was
Kristen
just it was
Glover.
He was
again it
right
was
on
good.
point.
It was all good. I
He
have to
did a
admit,
wonderful
everybody
job.
they picked for that.
He did a lot of research on that character to play
Yeah.
Lando.
Yeah.
Now, when
You
it came
could
to
tell.
when it
Yeah.
came to the
Tell.
prequels, when they said the one person I could say they actually picked well, and it seems that they always pick him to start off a franchise, and that's Liam Neeson. I don't know what it is
Yes.
about using Liam Neeson to
'Cause
start a
Neeson
franchise.
brings it.
'Cause if you remember
He brings
Batman
it.
Begins,
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
Again,
He
right.
brings
they bring
it
him
every
in,
time.
and he bought it. He was
Yeah.
he was perfectly believable as Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yes.
Then you get Ewan McGregor, who
You think
look.
he told him he was gonna
It
have
looks
to
like
die
and he
well?
does look like a young Obi-Wan Kenobi. He really
does.
And as they make his face older, he looks even more like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, when it came to Anakin, the young boy. I was kind of a little indifferent. I still like a Phantom Menace, but the kid that they had play him, I'm not quite
He
sure.
was too cute.
When they got to Hayden Christensen, I watched him. I looked at him first, and then you had to watch his actions. It's like, okay,
You ain't gonna talk about Hayden.
no, Hayden was good. I have nothing wrong with Hayden,
Don't
but
talk
I
about
was
Hayden.
wondering about him because I wasn't quite sure. The one that
be
they wanted
hating
to
on
pick,
Hayden.
hold
Don't
on,
be hating on
no, I don't hate
Hayden.
him. The one that they wanted to pick, I'm glad they didn't.
They wanted a guy from Dawson's Creek or something.
Yeah.
No,
He
they
was
want. You know
not
who they,
bad.
you know who
He
he
was
really
not
wanted?
bad.
Macaulay Culkin.
He wanted no. What's his name? Titanic.
Oh,
Titanic.
Leonardo DiCaprio. They wanted him, and I'm like, no.
I love you, Leo, but you ain't got no.
I'm not a
sparkle
big
eyes.
Leonardo DiCaprio fan. So, and
That
he's done a
wouldn't have
couple
done
of things that I actually
That would have
like.
just knocked it down.
That would not
But-
have done it.
Man.
Just not. That's
It's
not
just certain.
wouldn't
work.
It's certain actors that just do not fit into genre.
right.
Now-
And for the Star Wars, I'm sorry, those are not the ones. let me tell you.
I got scared actually for the prequels because it's
Right.
like, okay, I won't be in Star Wars.
No.
Oh, wait a minute. And the person was, and I kid you not, it was, you know who. It was, oh shoot, let me get his name straight.
Comedian?
Jackson.
Oh, Michael Jackson.
No, not Michael Jackson.
Not Michael
Jackson.
Samuel L.
Samuel Jackson.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So when I'm saying,
yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait, it did because he did actually better than I thought. Because I'm sitting there going, how are you gonna put Samuel Jackson in a Star Wars?
In a Jedi.
The first thing that come out of the motherfucker.
Yeah.
I mean, the MFs are going to fly. It's like.
What really
Yoda, didn't you hear me talking to you, Yoda? Didn't you hear me talking to you?
But what really killed me was the fight scene in the canyon. Out of all these Jedis, this brother came out with what? A purple one.
Well, he asked for it.
I know he did.
He told Luke, he went to George Luke, he said, I can see it now. Yo, George, I'm talking to you. George, I'm talking to you, George.
I said, what?
I want a purple lightsaber. George said, well, the lightsabers are green and red for a reason. I want a purple lightsaber. I can see him doing it.
And I know he did.
And I'm talking like, George is like, yo, please get this man a purple lightsaber.
And then it was funny because I'm watching the movie and I'm like,
but he played it.
Am I watching
He played
this
it
right?
good.
Well, he's a great actor.
Yeah,
he is.
He's sort of a caricature, just like
right.
What is it, like Edward G. Robinson. We all know him as his tough Shaft kind of thing.
Right.
But he's always been a very good actor. He's played legit parts. I mean, more dramatic, straight parts.
Now, believe it or not,
he can do it.
There's one other movie that Samuel Jackson was in that he didn't yell the MF words all the time. He was in it all the way through. And it dawned on me after I thought about it. It's like, you know what? He didn't. You know what movie that was?
187?
No. Jurassic Park.
He sure didn't.
Oh, that's right.
He was the guy that was holding the controls
and
everything.
he
was fine. And he was fine. He did perfectly fine. I mean, he was so well. It was so well done. He was like, then it was Samuel Jackson. But he did really well.
I think overall, with and I'm never going to be ashamed to say this. I have watched all of the Star Wars movies back to back. I've made an entire day out of all of them, and I will never get tired of watching them. But the one thing just that last one,
Revenge of the Sith. Which one? The Rise of Skywalker.
The last
one. Rise of Skywalker.
With when Leia passes away.
Oh, that was it.
That was the last Jedi. Well, she finished. She completed Awakens, but they finished
Awakens in part. Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. That's the three. Yeah.
That just did something to me, and I'm at home watching this. I am bawling.
Sure.
Here comes Raymond. Babe, why? It's the book.
I'm sorry.
I'm like,
I know that was emotional for you.
It was.
But I can't get over the fact that you had freaking Mary Poppins coming down after they explode the ship, and she's coming down. And I'm waiting for this woman to literally say, "This is why I hate."
There was no umbrella.
It could have been. It could have been. It could have been. It might as well have been one. See, there's one character in Movie Dome that I thought was a complete liar. That's Mary Poppins. I'm gonna tell you why. Mary Poppins set up and told the whole wide world, just a spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down. Now, I remember my grandmother feeding me some castor oil.
Yeah.
And she gave me a spoonful of sugar. And I was ready to slap the hell out of Mary Poppins.
There was a lie.
I was ready to slap the hell out of her because I'm like, spoonful of what?
I'll give you that.
Who the heck you talking to? I mean, no.
But Carrie Fisher did not do that.
Anybody need water?
Yep.
In the camera way.
Camera, wave at the camera.
But that's all right. Wave at the camera. Turn around and wave at the camera. Hey, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
No,
you're a good man. You're a good man.
I knew I'd get it.
There you go.
But
what is it? Michael Rooker's character in Guardians of the Galaxy? The second one?
He
did the thing where he floated down his Mary
Poppins. That was hilarious. That was fair.
He said, "Is he cool?" I said, "Yeah, hell yeah, he's cool." Oh, Mary Poppins.
See, that was funny. That was great. But I'm sorry, Princess Leia floating down like that looked too much like Mary Poppins. I'm sorry.
I mean, listen, I love Star Wars, but I have major issues with the last 3 movies.
Yeah, I do.
All 3?
Yeah, all 3.
Yeah, all 3.
All 3.
All 3.
You know,
Is it because they didn't follow the expected laws of physics?
You mean
that doesn't matter.
You mean the Lucas laws of physics?
The Force is magic in the world. No, my problem is with a lot of people, this is not my original idea, but I agree with it. It's like you brought all the people back. There's not a single scene in any of the 3 movies where you have Luke, Han, and Leia together.
Not even Lando, for that matter. Matter of fact, when you see Lando, he's apart from them.
I mean, it's like they didn't. They were appeared. First it was
you
the
saw
search
Han and
for
Leia
Luke.
together.
Luke was missing until the end of the movie.
Look, you didn't see Luke until the end of the Force Awakens,
and
that was on
last
some
movie, he was a grumpy
somewhere.
old man, threw away his lightsaber,
drinking blue milk.
Yeah, drinking blue milk. I mean, I get it.
Carrie Fisher probably saw that coming and said, "I don't want any part of that. Just let me be Mary Poppins for a minute."
Well, it's the story. I'm sorry, the story. And then, of course, the first story, again, was they built a super-duper Death Star. A super-duper planet-sized Death Star. It's like, I'm tired of the Death Star. I mean, even in the 3rd movie, I was like, well, how's it going to end? They built a new Death Star. And I was like, okay, I watched the movie.
I want to know whose genius idea was like, we got to make Star Wars over again. Why don't we do a planet that's like the Death Star? I'm like...
Well, to me, it's like going to see James Bond, and every movie, it would be the same... the supervillain plan. Let's blow up the Fort Knox. For every movie, or let's have the Moonraker virus take over the world, and the next one the same one. It's like I kept expecting from these people what's going to be the big threat in the Star Wars galaxy this time, and it's another Death Star.
See, one of the things,
I'd have to sit and think about it. I'd have to actually work it out. I probably wouldn't have done a Death Star. I would have done some like planetary takeover or some kind of virus or something. But I mean, another like a super threat that the Empire was going to put a foothold back in the galaxy again. But I don't know the answer. But the main thing, it doesn't matter what they do because it's about bringing Han and Luke and Leia together for the fans, hugging each other, whatever, reunited. They could have their issues and their problems, but they were the originals, and they're a family, and the fans deserve that.
Well, you had that moment when Han Solo delivered Rey
to Princess Leia.
But it wasn't. It was.
But Luke was missing.
And you had that moment for her to lay onto him.
Yeah.
Bring our son home so that he can get killed.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Okay, so
and
you
his
had
son
that family
turned
moment,
right around and killed his own daddy.
So I'm going to say the same thing as far as the issues I have with it. Yeah,
but by that time,
my first issue, like I said, my first issue with The Force Awakens is basically they copied A New Hope. It's just an exact copy. Only difference is Han Solo is playing the Obi-Wan part. Obi-Wan part.
A new Death Star.
And it is. It is exactly A New Hope. And I was like,
okay, well, at least the last one, The Rise of Skywalker, they were building a super fleet that was going to take over the galaxy. That's a little different. So
but then they look at what...
And bring the Emperor back as a clone or whatever. But
think about that. Return of the Jedi. What did they have? A super fleet that was going after that. It's the same thing.
But it's okay. I mean, but that's beside the point. Like, whatever threat James Bond is fighting doesn't matter. It's the characters that matter. It's the relationships between the different people, and you have to care about them. And the thing is, I would not have fired any of the actors. I would have said, "This is great. I love this first draft. Crumple, chop. All right, give me something more worthy of
the actors all did what they were supposed to do.
Look, at least in Return of the Jedi, okay, they said, well, they bought the Death Star. Look, I expect the idea of the Death Star wasn't supposed. I don't think there was supposed to be just one Death Star. Okay, it would have been multiple ones.
A Death Fleet.
Now the fact that this one was slightly halfway built and still had the power of the original Death Star. Again, the story was not the same as A New Hope. They brought that character back as Death Star as a character.
And Darth Vader scared the bejesus out of them to make them build it faster. So they didn't have the thing built yet, but they built the gun.
Yeah.
So that's what they were doing. They were building the gun to.
Now the other two movies, like I said, Solo's one, Rogue One. Rogue One was a good, and I think it was perfectly. I think it was perfectly cast. Also, I like the cast in Rogue One.
I agree.
With Rogue One, it is the movie you can literally finish Rogue One and go straight to A New Hope. I mean, just like that. It is that close. It is back to back, literally, because you see. Tantive Ford, the Rebel blockade one, Tantive Ford. You see it going off, and Vader sitting there. I'm going to get you later anyway. You see him just sitting there pouting because I'm going to get you later.
Except by that time, you know who he is.
Except that I think I've always said it before that I think you should watch the Star Wars movies not in order, but in the order they were released. So I don't think you should see Rogue One before the first Star Wars. I think that might spoil it for you. I think it's better to see these in order, and that's why I said. I tried it,
and it worked fine. It actually worked fine because we actually did it that way, and it did work fine. Well, it didn't give anything away.
My problem is, and I said this before, is that I didn't like the fact that that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker, is the father, and Leia's the because I thought it should be more of a surprise. Like when you're telling a story, you're giving away some of it.
That might be the only thing that started the Darth Vader
idea. There should have been that. This is just me.
But then again, you've had stories where they tell you this in the beginning of it, and the characters don't. It, but the characters don't find out till later.
But I always said there should have been like that. Obi-Wan should have had 2 apprentices, one named Darth Vader and one named Anakin Skywalker.
Oh,
and you didn't know. And when they fall, they have a fight or whatever, and they fall into a pit, and you don't know which one is Darth Vader. And so the surprise that the person calling himself Darth Vader is really Anakin Skywalker. That's the twist that was like, whoa. I'm just saying, I don't. It's done. What's done is done. But I'm just saying, like, if I was writing a story,
that's slick.
So I'm trying to figure out how you write it. Hey, Luke.
I like that.
It's me, Darth Vader.
Right.
Remember when they told you I was your father?
Right.
I'm not.
Yeah. And then, of course, my biggest problem with the third one is like he's sitting there with the ghost of Obi-Wan. You told me he was like, well, from a certain point of view, you did betray your father, and it's like you're lying.
I'm about to slice your head off with a certain point of view.
You're dead, and you're still lying to me. But I mean, that's just me. I'm just a little bit more straightforward in the storytelling.
I have to tell you that phrase. From a certain point of view, has gotten a lot of mileage.
Oh yeah,
and not just from me.
But that tells you that again.
There's a line in my book, the Jack Magic book, where it's repeated.
Jack Magic.
Yes, 1 and 2. Well, the other Believe Your Eyes and Other Nights. Just go on Amazon and look up Matthew Pack, MattheWPAK.
It's in the show notes.
Yeah, and Jack Magic. Yeah.
My other thing,
what I was going to say is that. Oh shoot! I lost my train of thought. I was talking about. In my book, I use the line. It's you have to look at it from a certain perspective. You have to look at certain thing from a certain perspective, and it's like it depends on the way you look at it. And I'm being literal. I'm being literal. So at the end of book 2, you go, "Oh, that's what he meant." So it's not just a throwaway thing. It's like it depends on your point of view. It depends on your perspective. It depends on the way you look at it. It's a clue that pays off.
I'm gonna tap on yours because the way I look at it is it tells you that there were flaws on both sides. The Jedi had flaws. They wanted you to think that the Jedi had it all up there, and they do. But Jedi's had flaws. I'm going to tell you why. Because
he's being nice.
There is flaws. Because number one, I think Yoda knew that they should have trained Luke and Anakin a lot better. And he spent more time with Luke, okay, because he knew that Luke was that he was. But as far as Anakin goes, they knew that this kid could go one way or the other.
Right.
Now, luckily, they got a second chance. Through Luke, but they knew what this kid was capable of. And yet they still tried to just push him to the side and said, no, we don't. I mean, there's a scene in there where Yoda literally pissed Anakin off. And it's one of the scenes in The Phantom Menace. As if you look at Anakin, and he looks at Yoda like, I'm going to kick your... Well, he has a stare on him like...
character, he's a psychopath.
Right.
I mean, he slaughters the entire...
but there's certain things
Sand People village, and he kills all the little kids. Yeah. It's like, okay, at this point, he's done.
Right.
I mean, we're sorry.
But he still has some... if you look at it, even all the way through, even when he's Vader... There are some scenes, if you watch it, especially when you get to Empire and Star Wars and Return of the Jedi. I'm going to say Revenge of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi. There are scenes where Vader, he looks, even in Revenge of the Sith, there are scenes where you see Vader, and remember how you talked about R2D2, and there's a scene where all you see is a cylindrical head, and he's like, and there's this emotion with this droid.
Yeah.
Well, with Vader, you can see it also. There's a scene in Return of the Jedi where Luke looks at him and says, I guess my father truly is dead. And he walks away, and you see Vader go. And it affects. It has an effect on him. So he's still there's that inner turmoil that's always with Vader because of what happened in Revenge of Revenge of the Sith, his turnover. But the Jedi can be just as guilty as the Sith because they first of all they stopped. Nobody could not only they went to this thing where they were mixing people. They what do you call it? Manipulating bloodlines. It's like manipulating bloodlines to get this Jedi. You know, before they go around to Jedi Knight.
And they cut them off. They cut their own people off from their families.
Right, and that's a bad move.
Which is
that's a bad move.
You know,
that's a bad move.
They had become a cult.
Right. Yeah.
So the Jedi weren't perfect.
No, but let me tell you real quick. If we mentioned before about the Sith, which they're stupid.
Oh yeah,
they are stupid. And Darth Vader was. I remember reading in the original book, the Lord of the Sith. You know? And it was like, whoa, what are the Sith? And you find out, oh, there's only two.
There's only two.
What? There's only two. Master and apprentice. Okay, and then what do? The master trains the apprentice, and the apprentice betrays the master and kills him. And takes his place. Then he gets another apprentice, and that apprentice, he trains him, and he kills him. Wait a minute. What are you all? You're all morons. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I thought the Sith would be an army of evil. And no, it's like
only two. Not only that,
this one won't betray me. I'm going to betray him. Right. He won't betray me.
The Dark Jedi around, they put them against each other. Yeah, you can do better. So they put them against each other.
I placed that on George Lucas because it was like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like, because it's like they have compulsion just to create their own destruction.
I think he wanted you to see the flaws in both sides, and that again, that could be genius on his part to show the flaws on both sides, even though the Jedi are trying to do the right thing, but they have their flaws.
Whereas however, I just thought of something. I really just thought about this right now. At the end of Return of the Jedi, the Emperor wanted Luke to kill his father, Darth Vader.
Right.
So that makes sense in a way. Train my apprentice, then have another apprentice kill him. So before he can kill me, then I train him and then have him killed before he kills me. So in other words, an endless line of apprentices that I train, manipulate, and then have them killed before they can kill me.
Exactly.
So maybe he was the smartest one of the group. Like they finally figured out, okay, I can't train the guy to kill me. I'll train him up to a certain point and have him killed. There we go.
Now, I've had some people say that this would have made the movie better, and they think that this was the case, and then Lucas changed his mind. Jar Jar Binks wasn't the kind of person. He wasn't the dumb whatever you think he was.
Theory.
Yeah,
because the theory is that he was the Phantom Menace.
Yes.
And that he was controlling things all over.
Right.
But because people didn't take to Jar Jar too well, they say, I don't know if this is true or not. They said George Lucas said, okay, I'm dropping the Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
But it would have been actually, honestly, that might have been interesting.
That would have been.
Well,
I would have kept
spoiler alert! If you haven't seen The Acolyte, which I had, but they have this sort of clownish, oafish guy who is like, and it's revealed that he's the big bad. And so similar in that.
Plagueis?
So they held on to the
he's supposed to be
Well, no,
but they're forming Plagueis at that time.
But in other words, like this guy who is sort of like he's sort of like a bumbling, foolish young guy, but it turns out he's really the evil mastermind behind it all.
But
I like that idea.
Who else did that?
Too.
In the whole Star Wars saga, who else did that? Yoda. Remember when you go to Dagobah and Luke's there and he does the same thing.
Played the fool.
He does the same thing. Plays the fool.
With
Grover's voice from Sesame Street, of course, but he plays the fool.
But my whole thing with that, Yoda knew all of this before all of it happened.
Yeah.
And he could have stopped all of that.
There's a lot of
Well, that's part of the storytelling, you know.
Right,
I mean,
exactly. So he had
we
to
make
let
up
it all
arbitrary
happen.
rules.
He had to let it. He had to let it happen.
That's the one thing that a lot of these franchises, they fail to realize that there's always this directive or something. And I'm going to go to Star Trek briefly because that's one of those that peeves me, that drives me up the wall.
Directive.
Is the Prime Directive.
Right.
The Prime Directive sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no reason for the Prime Directive because they're saying, well, if you go on and you contaminate these people, they won't grow normal. How the hell you know I wasn't supposed to be there in the first place? Well, maybe I was supposed to be there to show them that. Do you know that for sure?
Well, that's true. That's like in the Star Trek 4 where they give the transparent aluminum to a
guy. That's what this guy is saying. How do you know it? Maybe you invented that.
But my thing is that you're right, but the Prime Directive does make sense if you were actually just observing the universe like the Watcher. But if you're actually going to be tramping around and walking all over the galaxy, then you are already interfering by being there.
Matt,
but who's to say that something can't?
You just said about the Watcher.
Yes.
Because
who's watching the
Watcher was watching.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden he had to get involved.
He broke his vows. Yeah, because he wanted to protect the Earth. He wanted to protect humanity.
Let's put a new spin on that one. Okay, you're saying if you're sitting back quietly and listening,
wait a minute.
You know, accidents happen.
Right.
Things happen. You can't control. So you're supposed to be sitting back. You're not going to interfere. And then something happens. You go, hi guys.
That happened in Star Trek Next Gen, where the people were observing in disguise, and they're disguised.
And it happens. So what happens? So what do you do? What do you do? How do you know that wasn't supposed to happen?
Right.
You can't know.
Well, what really happens and what really would happen out there would depend on the captain out in the starship way out in the middle of nowhere. Kirk would just say, okay. Whatever, what the hell? All right. You know.
But he did that anyway.
Yeah. He violated the directive, but just played by the seat of his pants. It's okay.
So I guess you ready to bring this to a final conclusion?
I was just considering the best way to go about it. Because
I'm going to focus on you three. It was nice meeting everybody. I'm going to go behind the camera.
Can I say Joby's not here today? She wasn't
feeling well. Definitely.
Yes.
Joby,
I'm
going to show you this video later. We miss you. You would have been sitting right here on my lap or on her lap.
Joby, we definitely miss you.
And I'm behind the camera now, so thank you. I'm going back behind the camera.
John's going behind the camera.
Yes. And so now we can talk about John.
Okay. What is with that guy? I mean, really, what is with
I can hear you over here.
Oh, I forgot.
Well, y'all have known him almost as long as I have.
Yeah.
And this really was his idea because he is a true Star Wars nut.
Yeah.
I mean, he wears this Superman thing on his vest all the time.
Well, you can like more than one thing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say, though, that even though I have issues with I have issues with a lot of stuff, but I'm not one of those, Sheldon Leonard type of, but I'm just saying that, but it's okay. I can love Star Wars and I can still complain about it. I can still say, okay, this worked better than this.
Right.
Yeah.
And to me, the original movie, no matter what, the original 1977 movie that came out, is just like a classic that goes into movie history. And so that everything else after that is this thing that was never intended to be. It just happened, and it's wonderful, but we can love it, and I can still, I know you love it probably flawlessly, but you can love it and still complain about it, still talk about it, and have something to say about it.
I can actually say, even behind the camera, every time I hear, whether I'm listening to it on the vinyl album or I hear it, the minute you hear that drum roll, and you hear the horns, and it goes silent, and you see the words on the screen, it's going to bring a chill to you.
Yeah.
If you're a big Star Wars fan, it will always bring a chill to you, no matter how many times you see it. It will always be a long time ago in a galaxy far,
it's
far
still
away.
going to hit your blood pressure.
Look, let me tell you this real quick. It was the coolest thing. We had one a few years ago at the Canal Club here in Richmond. I was working the door. It was a dubstep show. The DJ, it was a Star Wars thing. So freaking cool. Because he had it on the screen.
Oh, okay.
A long time ago. When that dubstep started, and these kids came out of nowhere, they were dressed as all of these characters from the cantina. We had all these Han Solos. We had Leia. We had Luke Skywalkers. We had all the Imperial soldiers. This kid came up to me. He said, it was the funniest thing. He said, I bet you don't know anything about Star Wars. I killed him on sight.
He made some assumption, didn't he?
Because the two security guards are looking at him, and Mike said, oh shit, he has no idea. I was like, kid, I went to see it in 1977. He was like, you what? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I said, I saw it when it first came out in 1977.
You had your opportunity to bring out your inner Obi-Wan. Yeah. You should have said, you don't know what you're talking about.
Or you could have brought your inner Darth Vader and go.
When I just killed him with that, because one of the girls behind him said, oh, you're an idiot. She's an icon. She saw it in 1977, dude. You just seeing it? That's what? Right. You know, I was just like, wow.
Every generation thinks that they're inventing something.
Just real quick, there's one thing I just want to say is that I know there's a lot of controversy about Star Wars now. I know there's people complaining and people on the internet, people on Twitter, and X as it's called now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's like, when I went to see, maybe my experience was different than yours. When I went to see it in Hampton when it first came out, the audience was mixed. It was white and black.
It was.
When I went to see Star Trek, after the blockbuster came out, it was there. And I know, I mean, people feel disenfranchised, but I think that everybody is brought together by great entertainment. I think straight, gay, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, old, young,
and science fiction,
people are complaining about not being represented. I think everybody. And yes, there can be better representation, there can be better variety, but I think that everybody was meant to be included, and no one was ever meant to be excluded.
Exactly. That is so true.
Because it was so engulfed in the movie.
Right.
We didn't sit there and say, like, well, I don't know what sexuality this character is.
Right, exactly.
You remember when the movies would come back to the theaters? I remember when they came back to the lines that people would be standing and everybody would be talking, how many
everybody was shoulder to shoulder.
Right.
So, yeah.
So that's it. I think that we unite over... that we should be more. It should be more of a positive experience. We should always be thankful, and we should I know people have a right to complain. People have a right to want more, but I think that it was never meant to be exclusive to anybody.
I would agree.
That goes back to back in March this year when we did GalaxyCon. Mm-hmm. This guy was so hilarious. I was dressed. Ray had on his Hulk, the Captain America shirt. Christians and, we're all in costume. And the guy was like, y'all look incredible. And he was like, I wish more people would be out here enjoying this like you guys. Mm-hmm. And I was like, he said, if you don't mind, how old are you? I said, I'll be 60 in April. He was like, damn, that's what I'm talking about.
I get a kick out of anywhere.
The limitations are self-limitations.
I always get a kick out of people that just enjoy things like that. Now, she'll tell you, I walk around with this jacket on that I have. It's got a Superman emblem on it.
Yeah.
And I'll walk up to a store, I'll see a kid, and they'll point and go, like that.
Yeah.
But what attract you up even more is about, like I walked into a Home Depot one day, and I walked in. Yo, hey, Superman, how you doing? Come on, man, how you doing? Yeah, can you come over out there? I'll be over there. And it's so funny.
I love it.
It's just so fun.
It is. It really is.
It's too bad you never ran into like a pimp sitting on a car going like, yo,
I know, that's what I was hoping you would do too. Excuse me, I'll be right back. I love that. That is like so cool. Wow.
But I was going to take it back to what both of you have talked about and A New Hope. Mm-hmm. The whole thing started with A New Hope. Or
as I call it, Star Wars.
We didn't really know. We didn't really have any idea where it could go, how all-encompassing it could be, all of the different things that it could provoke and create. And I'm going to see if I can find, there was a book that I read maybe 5 years ago that was about the search for a place on Earth that had no idea of anything having to do with Star Wars, because the authors had determined that Star Wars had had such an impact on society that they really began to overtly try to find, was there any place that if you gave a reference to Star Wars that there wouldn't be a click? Mm-hmm. And they did not find any place until they eventually found this one little island. I mean, it was an island. It was a nowhere. These people had no movies. They had no TV. They were not connected. They were completely unconnected society.
Right.
And of course, they ruined it by setting up projectors
and
showing the movie.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Wow.
But I'm gonna see if I can find a link to that
That's
book
cool.
if I can figure it. But I just, the fact that this is to me the ever endearing aspect of Star Wars, that New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be a little corny, but I can live with that. And if y'all are good with that, or as my supervisor says, all conscience is clear. Everyone good?
Everyone good? All right. I just want to say again, sorry Joby couldn't be here.
Yes.
Get well soon. I'll show you the video. Buy my book. That was from the critic. Buy my book. Or it's free. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read it for free. Jack Magic by Matthew Pack, P-A-K.
I got to read the book.
Believe Your Eyes and Other Nights.
Believe Your Eyes.
And the third one, hopefully next year, which will wrap up the trilogy.
Okay.
So.
And also Matthew and Leanne, we miss you.
Yes.
I know when we very first
Love
talked about
you guys.
doing this, you guys were going to be able to be with us.
Yeah.
So we hope that your boss appreciates you being at work today.
You better.
And
On Labor Day. Damn.
Yeah.
And
what
so
do we say at the end of every Star Wars movie?
at the end of every
Star Wars movie, what do we say? And may the
Force be with you.
I thought it was go home! Get out of the theater! We got another group to come in.
Thanks, Ferris Bueller. I appreciate that.
Y'all are still here?
He's still here for it.
That's right. Or airplane where the guy says in the cab, okay, I'll give another 10 more minutes.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
Live long and may the Force be with you.
Prosper. May the Force be with you.